Prior to Quest, I was a 10-year veteran of the Raleigh Police Department. My last several years was a full-time SWAT operator. We had 3 10-man teams that were all 3 full-time. We're commonly and repeatedly exposed to things that where an individual citizen that may be the worst day of their life, and they'll remember it for the rest of their lives. We see that day in and day out, week in and week out throughout the year. And that stuff stacks in your head. And if you don't have a healthy way to deal with it or an outlet to deal with it, it can take over. It doesn't happen to everyone. And sadly, in our field, it's viewed as a weakness when you have to ask for help. But sometimes the helpers have to ask for help. And that's what led me to pursue obtaining that help through Quest to Recovery. For Quest, the biggest thing for me was I didn't want to feel like I was in a hospital. I didn't want to feel like I was in a strictly clinical setting where I was, an oddball. It's like home. It's a very home environment. The staff there is very personable. You get a lot of one-on-one time, and they have a great understanding of the stressors that we go through as first responders, and they also treat the addiction issues that often spawn from those stressors. For me, the personalized environment here, the coping mechanisms learned, and the camaraderie of guys that have experienced what you have, guys and girls that have experienced what you have, it allows you to be more open in treatment. So my message would be, if you've hit that bottom, ask for help. Think about all the people that have asked us for help when they didn't want to, or were at that domestic situation where nobody wanted to call, but the call needed to be made. Every bottom has a trap door, and that trap door can be dark. So once you've hit that bottom and you're in that dark place, for me, Quest to Recovery was key in saving my life. I was definitely on the way out, and it helped reverse that thought that was okay. It was not okay. I needed to ask for help, and I needed to be vulnerable, which is difficult for some of us to swallow, but it's key in recovery. With the tools that I've gotten from Quest and the ability to work through things, even normal everyday problems, whereas before it becomes an excuse on top of everything else to use or drink or not take my medication, anything like that. Now I function normally. I feel like I am my old self again. I've been reintegrated with my family, reestablished contact. It's Christmas season, so being able to have that contact with my family is key for me, because that was my greatest grievance and loss, was that connection with my family as I became deeper and more involved in that addiction, and it took over my life. Currently I'm back to what my wife would call my old self. I regained that demeanor and the ability to carry myself the way that I like to and that I want to present myself. I've used and utilized the tools that I learned at Quest to be able to function normally, and even grieving the loss of my career over the substance abuse issues and mental health issues. That's another trauma that I had to work through. I'm no longer a police officer. I'm a former police officer. And that's a difficult pill to swallow for us when you've spent so long being in that role. Just utilizing the tools that you gain here, I can't stress enough the importance of the ability to process that, and the coping mechanisms that I learned here are key in my everyday life in maintaining this demeanor and my healthy lifestyle and being able to function as a good active member of society that's not law enforcement anymore. There's such a negative connotation of addict, dope fiend, alcoholic, and that's not us. We're men and women in uniform. We don't subscribe to that theory. Well, the fact remains is that we become that, or we are already there, and we have to get the help that we need to get out of that. And you can't do it by yourself. There's no doing it by yourself. I tried, and I failed, and it cost me more and more each time. And the longer that I stayed out, or the longer that I refused to ask for help or swallow my pride, the more pain and trauma I inflicted on myself. And it made it that much more difficult to finally ask for help. And when I came to Quest, I think it was important that I came in beaten and defeated. If you're not at the bottom, then you feel like there's still more left you can give. And I had nothing left to give. And if you immerse yourself in this program, follow what they tell you, utilize the coping mechanisms that work for you, the treatment, the whatever recovery program you work after, whatever you do, tailor it to yourself, but be honest with yourself and swallow that pride, because that pride does come before the fall, and it comes hard. A common phrase we use in police work is stay in the fight. You always have to stay in the fight. When you give up the fight is when you lose. And when you refuse to ask for help, you're going to lose every time.